Hello, everybody. I am here to talk about my diversity field experience on this wonderful day. I hope you're having a good one. I decided to do my diversity field experience on mental health, specifically on anxiety and depression, because I personally feel that anxiety and depression is a major thing in society. So what I did, I interviewed 5 people, 3 females. One of the females had depression, one had anxiety, and one had both. And I also interviewed 2 males, one with depression and one with anxiety. Why I chose mental health is because I'm not very educated in it. I have many friends that have depression and anxiety, and I wanted to gain more knowledge to help myself understand what my friends are feeling and to understand what they go through in a day-to-day everyday life. So I did some research and I did found some facts that I found interesting and I wanted to share them with you. Um, that 17.5 million Americans are affected by some form of depression. 80% of people with clinical depression who have received treatment are significantly improved in their lives. I thought it was interesting though because they're only about half of the people with clinical depression receive treatment, which is a very low, surprising amount number of people that don't receive treatment with depression. Women experience depression about twice as often as men. And according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control, suicide was the 9th leading cause in death in the United States in 1996. Also, going back to women experience depression about twice as often as men, I found that surprising because throughout the year we've been learning about different disabilities and how men are more susceptible to disabilities. This is the only mental health is the only area where I have seen women be more susceptible to the disability than males, which is shocking to me, or surprising more than shocking. Some more facts on depression. You are 1.5 to 3 times more common um, if you are related to someone with depression to have it. So it is kind of genetic. Um, and globally, there are 3.5 or 350 million people that suffer from depression every year, which is an insane amount of people. The World Health Organization estimates that depression will be the second highest medical cause of disability by the year 2030, which would be second to HIV and AIDS. It is caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain. And I found this picture on the internet, which I personally found to explain the most of what happens. So in a healthy synapse, there are more neurotransmitters released, and there are a larger concentration of receptors. So more connections are made chemically. But in a synapse of a depressed person, there are less neurotransmitters and less receptors, so there's not as much of a connection being made, and that's on the right side. And then some facts on anxiety. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental illness in the U.S., affecting 40 million adults in the United States, which is age 18 or above. It is also highly treatable, yet only around 1/3 of the people suffering receive treatment, which I think is also crazy because, um, I don't know, not a lot of people get treatment, which is hard for me to understand. But people are people and they can do what they want. And also, people with an anxiety disorder are 3 to 5 times more likely to go to the doctor. than someone who does not have anxiety. Some more facts are anxiety disorders develop from a complex set of risk factors, including genetics, brain chemistry, personality, and life events, which is also similar to depression. Um, Nearly one half of those diagnosed with depression are also diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, and that is vice versa. If you're diagnosed with anxiety, you have half of you or half are diagnosed with depression later. And then anxiety disorders affect 1 in 8 children. Picture explaining the brain and what happens. So hormones are affected when you have anxiety. Your adrenaline increases, your cortisol increases, your insulin increases, and your thyroid hormone increases. And also your eyes will dilate, your heart will increase, your heart rate increases, your blood pressure increases, your bronchial tubes open for deeper breathing, and your muscles contract. So if you're having an anxiety attack that lasts a few minutes, even hours, this can be very wearing on the body and make them very tired and worn out. And then what people go through. So I interviewed a few people, or I've interviewed everybody about how they would explain anxiety and depression, and I chose the best one out of what I thought was the best one out of all, even though all were very valid. Um, so this is my friend explaining what she goes through with anxiety. So anxiety for me is a real struggle, especially when I have multiple anxiety attacks in a week. Most people have no idea that I have anxiety, but when I am at home, my anxiety always seems to skyrocket. When having an anxiety attack, everything is so overwhelming that my emotions overcome me. There are some moments where I cannot get anything done. When it becomes too overwhelming, there is a point that I start to shake uncontrollably. My sleep is affected the most out of my day-to-day life. There are nights where I won't sleep at all because my mind is moving 1,000 miles per hour about anything that she thinks about. So it's all, as in the picture to the left, there's a bunch of different things that pile in their brains and they can't. They're trying to process it all. So their mind's continually racing. And then my friend with depression, he described it as it's not just a feeling of sadness, it is an overwhelming state where you feel like you don't matter in the world. You have a lack of motivation and a lack of self-worth. There are many points where I could sleep all the time and I still feel exhausted with life. Many people do not view it as a disease like diabetes, but there are a lot of side effects to it. Depression is due to your brain not making the connection it needs to because of a chemical imbalance. No one chooses to be depressed. It is a serious and common thing. And then what they want you to know about, they wanted the general public to know that it is a disease and it is a very difficult disease to deal with. They just want people to understand them, that it is a real struggle and it is a real thing. It's not just feeling sad or being anxious for a little while. They're anxious for minutes, hours, even days at a time. They also want people to realize that it is a popular disease and that someone you know is affected by this disease. And so, going back and from my experience in interviewing the 5 people I did, I learned a lot of what they go through that I don't necessarily see because a lot of them do it at home. Um, they don't necessarily show their struggle during the day unless it's really bad. So now I have more of an understanding of what's going on and even how I could possibly help them. I hope you learned a lot today. I hope you learned more about depression and anxiety on this great day. I hope you have a great weekend and be safe.